In 1989, Casio introduced to the world the first analog digital G-Shock with actual hands. The AW-500 was a bold new experiment to see if Casio could push the boundaries of watchmaking by moving past digital square shapes and incorporating hands and gears and other small parts that had previously been vulnerable to impact and shock. It was quite a hit, and it remains a sought-after vintage watch to this day. But let's fast forward to 2020, and Casio is reprising this classic watch with the brand new AW-500 and its second full metal G-Shock, the AWM-500D. Today we're going to take a closer look at the AWM-500D that I've been wearing for a few days now. Could this potentially be my favorite new G-Shock? Well, let's give it a look and find out. Alright, so right out of the box, this watch just screams quality. I mean, picking it up for the first time, you'll notice that it's a bit heavy. It clocks in about 175 grams. My skinny wrist knocked off several grams after adjusting the bracelet, but it does feel pretty formidable. And then the next thing I did was place it over my wrist to see exactly how the size would line up with my 6.75 inch wrist. It's 44.5 millimeters wide and 51.8 millimeters tall. And man, this thing fits like a glove. It feels really good on the wrist. I was quite impressed with the size of this thing. I was a little worried that it was going to be too big lug to lug, but it's really not. It's not too big. It's not too small either, even though it is a bit thick at 14.2 millimeters. So unlike the AW-500, the AWM-500 comes standard with multi-band 6, tough solar, and full metal exterior parts, and with exquisite detailing on the bracelet and on the bezel. To maintain its shock resistance, Casio shrunk the size down a little bit from the AW-500 by shaving off about 3.4 millimeters from its length and about 3.2 millimeters from its width. And the result is a full metal watch with a 7% smaller form factor. And inside of its metal construction, there is a piece of resin between the case and the bezel to help absorb shocks, similar to the GWM-500D, which was the original metal square G-Shock released back in 2018. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the case and the bracelet. And the finishes on this watch consist of mirrored finishes and satin or brushed finishes. It is absolutely exquisite even at this price point, and this watch clocks in at about $500 to $600 US. I mean, the skilled finishing work on this watch is just amazing. For example, look at the brushed portion of this lug here. It's got this satin finish that matches the circumference of the overall design, which is just a really nice touch. It's really quite beautiful. And the shiny mirrored finishes around the bezel, those are very nice. And then if you look over on the side, you've got brushed metal right around the pushers as well, and some mirrored finishes above that. And then here's another shot of the other lug. And then on the top of the watch, there's also a brushed pattern as well. So it's a good combination of shiny surfaces and brushed surfaces, which comes out to look really, really clean. Even the screw down case back is gorgeous. You can see here that this case back has a DLC coating which binds carbon particles directly to the steel, giving it a nice black look, which is actually very impressive. And the ingenuity of this case design means that the actual pushers are hidden from regular view, but once you get muscle memory on where they're located, they're easy to press and they feel really great on your fingers. And if you flip it over here, you can see that the pushers are actually horizontal and they line up flush with the case, which is pretty cool. And then the bracelet itself is very easy to adjust. Each link has a spring-loaded pin which you can easily pop out. So it's pretty quick to adjust this bracelet to your own wrist. Probably took me about 10 or 15 minutes to remove, I think, 6 links, 3 from each side. And Casio has generously included 4 micro adjustment slots, which is much appreciated. And if we check out the bracelet, you can see that it is attached to the case here with 4 individual screws. So personally, I think the dial on the AWM-500 is really beautiful. It's got these large 3-dimensional indices that are bold. They are not loomed. Only the 2 hands have a little tip of loom on them. Those indices are textured, but they do reflect light, and they give a good amount of depth to that black dial, which is really nice. And unlike the original AW500, these new models have moved the LCD display above the 6 o'clock position and actually put the analog hands dead center in the dial, which enhances legibility, making it easier to tell the time. And speaking of legibility, there are 2 LEDs in this watch that brightly illuminate both the dial and the LCD screen, and these can of course be adjusted from 1.5 seconds to 3 seconds in duration. So there's no second hand on this watch, but the LCD screen at the bottom can either show the full date or day, or the date with seconds. And the chapter ring on this watch includes 24-hour markers for a quick resolution between standard and military time at a glance. The labels surrounding the LCD screen can admittedly get a little bit busy, but it's certainly not distracting. These labels include daylight savings, light, multiband 6 reception, alarm, hourly chime, battery level, mute, and hands, since this model can actually move the hands out of the way by pressing and holding the C button at any time. And of course this module has all the standard GShock features you'd expect. It's got 200 meters of water resistance, multiband 6, tough solar, world time, stopwatch with 1/100th of a second up to an hour, a 1-second timer up to 100 minutes, 5 alarms, an hourly chime, dual LED lights, selectable illumination duration, hand shifting, power save, and much more. So this is probably my favorite GShock watch to date. I'm really a sucker for those analog and digital combinations. And when you have such a finely constructed watch with premium materials and a perfect fit like this, you know, it's really tough to find any faults with this model. So why don't we wrap up this video by putting this back on my 6.75-inch wrist and giving it a look, so you can see exactly how this fits. So as you can see, there's no overhang with the lugs on my small wrist. It's a very comfortable wear that really eliminates any concern that you might have with the watch's weight. It just fits really well. And here's a shot looking down my arm. You can see that the lugs fit nicely across my wrist, and it really just is a nice fit. It's super comfortable. So to wrap up, this watch is comfortable, beautiful, and functional. It really is a perfect package in my book, and I'm super happy that I picked this one up. So go give this one a look on the GShock website. See if you can check out this watch if you want to pick it up. It really, really is quite beautiful, and I'm really enjoying this watch so far. So again, that's about it. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I would really appreciate it. Leave a like on the video if you liked what you saw, and thanks again for watching Casio, and we'll catch you out soon in the next video. Thanks again for watching.